elves have been portrayed in many different ways, in many different forms of media, from the magical fierce warriors of Tolkien's world to the cute little creatures found in many a fairy tale. These creatures have been with humanity for a long time, from the elves of Norse mythology, which have survived into today's folklore, mainly as females living in hills and mounds of stone. The Swedish Elvor were stunningly beautiful girls who lived in the forests with an elven king. The elves could be seen dancing over meadows, particularly at night and on misty mornings. Most think of them as being nothing more than fiction, but what if not only they were real, but there was also a way we could communicate with them? What would they have to say? What should we ask them? Let's take a look. Welcome to If, videos on history and mystery. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you never miss a video again. The elves we're going to take a look at are a little different to those of legend, but could they be the inspiration behind the story? The Machine Elves. Machine Elves have been given a range of names. They are known as fractal elves, self-transforming elf machines, or Jenny. The strange beings were christened by the late ethnobotanist, writer and philosopher Terence McKenna. They are seen often by those that ingest tryptamine-based psychedelic drugs, especially DMT. So what exactly is DMT? DMT is a hallucinogenic substance which is found within certain plants which are found in the Amazon rainforest. This drug is normally prepared for consumption in two ways. One is to boil the DMT into a very potent brew, and the second is to ground it into a fine powder. To use DMT, it is usually smoked in shamanic rituals. Although in situations that are not tied to religious or transformative ceremonies, it is taken in through the nose or mixed into a beverage and drank. Those that take part in the consumption of DMT experience hallucinations unlike those from other narcotic substances. Experiencers of DMT will enter an entirely alternate reality, often comparing their experience to meeting God or visiting another plane of existence. They comment that the trip is more real than hallucinations experienced using other drugs. These individuals' reports of visiting other worlds say that these worlds are very different to ours, and occasionally they have been compared to heaven and hell. One bizarre experience shared by those that have taken DMT is visiting a desert which is populated by a large number of grey owls. These owls speak to users in an unknown language. Could this actually be grey aliens? There has been documented links between owls and extraterrestrials, most notably in the talks given by Mike Leland. This experience is also said to start quicker than most, if not all other drugs. DMT kicks in between 10 and 60 seconds of entering the body, but only lasts for a few intense minutes. The users of this narcotic make reference to encounters with strange beings, and these beings and other worlds are found in many cultures and form a basis to shamanic practices which can be found in Native American traditions and groups indigenous to Australia and African tribes. In the Amazon, and particularly in Colombia and Peru, a beverage named Ayahuasca containing DMT is used by native tribal shaman. The drink is used in ceremonies as a means for entering the spirit world, and its main use is as a healing experience. The ceremony, which incorporates ayahuasca, has become popular with those that travel to the region. One of the most famous of these travelers was Western ethnobotanist Terence McKenna. McKenna was a renowned psychonaut, a traveler of the mind, and a philosopher. He became the first individual widely known for experimenting with and documenting the effects of DMT. McKenna told that if a sufficient amount of DMT is smoked, anyone is guaranteed to come into contact with the strange entities he called the Machine Elves. These beings from another realm have also come to be known as clockwork elves, fractal elves, and tykes. Others consider them aliens. Are these strange entities real creatures or just part of an elaborate hallucinatory effect from the drugs? If you took DMT, what would you expect to see? Well, McKenna detailed the experience, saying, "One may burst through a chrysanthemum-like mandala and find that there's a whole bunch of entities waiting on the other side. They are saying how wonderful that you are here. You come so rarely. We're so delighted to see you. They are like jeweled, self-dribbling basketballs, and there are many of them, and they come pounding toward you, and they will stop in front of you and vibrate. But then they do a very disconcerting thing, which is they jump into your body and then jump back out again, and the whole thing is going on in a high-speed mode where you're being presented with thousands of details per second, and you can't get a hold of them. And these things are saying, don't give in to the astonishment, which is exactly what you want to do. You want to go nuts with how crazy it is, and they say, don't do that. Pay attention to what we're doing. What they are doing is making objects with their voices, singing structures into existence. They offer things to you saying, look at this, and as your attention goes towards these objects, you realize that what you are being shown is impossible. It's not simply intricate, beautiful, and hard to manufacture. It's impossible to make these things. The nearest analogy would be the Fabergé egg, but these things are like the toys that are scattered around the inside of a UFO, celestial toys, and the toys themselves appear to be somehow alive and can sing other objects into existence. So what's happening in this proliferation of elf gifts, which are moving around singing, and they are saying, do what we are doing, and they are very insistent, and they say, do it, do it, do it, and you feel like a bubble inside your body beginning to move up toward your mouth, and when it comes out, it isn't sound, it's vision. You discover that you can pump stuff out of your mouth by singing, and they are urging you to do this. They say, that's it, keep going. At the 4.5 minute mark of the trip, you speak in a kind of glossolalia. There is a spontaneous outpouring of syntax unaccompanied by what is normally called meaning. After a minute or so of this, the whole thing begins to collapse in on itself, and they begin to physically move away from you. Usually, their final shot is that they wave goodbye and say, Deja Vu, Deja Vu. Are there any explanations for these visions? Or are they, as McKenna says, beings from another level of reality? The concept may be related to a tendency for the brain to imagine living entities during certain altered states. The best example of this is the extremely common feeling of a living presence in a room during sleep paralysis. This has been theorized as the origin of the paranormal succubus, as well as being a common theme in many alien abduction stories. The elves and the aliens being described in much the same way. These two strange events most often occur at night, as people enter the body's natural altered state. Sleep. When asleep, dopamine receptor 4, a protein on the outside of a certain cell, binds to dopamine, and it is active in the part of the brain called the pineal gland. The pineal gland is known as the third eye. Many have suggested that the third eye is found between the two hemispheres of the brain. According to this belief, humans had, in far ancient times, an actual third eye in the back of their head with a physical and spiritual function. Does DMT open this eye? Do we possess some innate ability to travel to different universes, which we can only access when our minds are in an altered state? How is it we can easily communicate with the Machine Elves? McKenna has suggested that these entities aren't entirely benevolent or without a hidden purpose. He talks about the elves reminding him of Arab traders always bartering and trying to find an advantage. In his meetings with the Tykes, he found that their sense of humor was very odd. And even though they seemed to be showing the person amazing sights of wonder and astonishment, he felt that they were attempting to cut some kind of deal with that person. This behavior is something that reminds me of the stories of people meeting with demons and then making bargains for their souls. McKenna also showed his distrust by saying, you should not let them get behind you, since their intentions were unclear and that their humor may not be so enjoyable for humans. It is also said that the Machine Elves are able to easily jump through people, and that by doing so, they transfer innumerable amounts of information to the person, which can lead to trauma, exhaustion, and confusion. So it would seem that there could be some serious negative effects from interactions with the Machine Elves. Something Terence McKenna and Dr. Rick Strassman have both asserted, They said that the sense of reality whilst a person is exposed to these experiences are of a distinct from ordinary hallucinatory journey. This led both researchers to speculate that perhaps the physics of many worlds are involved, this giving a scientific backing to the beliefs of the many cultures we opened with. Jacques Vallée has proposed that the entities met may be of an interdimensional nature in his interdimensional hypothesis. Another idea for the Machine Elves has been proposed by James Kent. Kent theorizes that the DMT landscape is simply a disruption or a type of editing of our processing of visual information, and it causes a chaotic interpretation of it, inspired by hyperactive phosphane activity. The human brain tends to fill in the blanks, and since humanity has a propensity for anthropomorphic things, a humanoid entity would be the most likely form to appear from the chaos. Aldous Huxley suggested that there was something which he called the mind at large, which was filtered by the ordinary functioning of the human brain to produce ordinary experience. People who take hallucinogenic narcotics often experience hallucinations which are based on their own memories and personal experiences. Sometimes, certain substances will produce the same effect regardless of who takes them. Today, using and possessing DMT is illegal in the United States. This makes it impossible to study the Machine Elves without using DMT. Do the powers that be know more about the ideas that this drug opens our minds to a new world? Are they scared that this could change the thinking of the masses if the experience was widely available? One thing is for sure, it is very strange that different people would see the same thing, and that these visual journeys would be the same as described by indigenous cultures with their stories of spirit realms. What do you think the Machine Elves are? Do you think that they live in an alternate reality? Does DMT allow us to access this place? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here on the channel, hit that subscribe button, like and share. You can catch the latest by searching We Are If. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.